Anchor really is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why we use it for the morning mantra. It's free. It comes with built-in creation tools that allow us to record and edit our podcast right from the palm of our hand in our tablets or on our computers. Anchor distributes the podcast for us so that it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. No fancy studios or training required, just your unique voice. Did I mention it's free? 'Cause it is. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Sleep well, middle finger. We got work to do tomorrow. Hi, this is Coach MK, and this is the Morning Mantra. Hi, my name is MK Fleming. I'm a run coach based in Denver, Colorado. But this isn't a podcast about running exactly. Don't tell my clients, but we're never really talking about the running. When you know a craptastic event is coming, it helps to have a mantra to keep you centered and focused as you move through it. You don't have to be an athlete to be #coached and loved by Coach MK. And if you are here, then you are #winning at life. Today's mantra is front and center. Front and center. My husband loves telling people that he was my first client. I love telling people that I picked him because he wasn't a runner. What the hell happened? This household cannot support two careers. It won't support two runners. Except my husband loved this other thing too. Rugby. He desperately wanted to be part of this world. He really wanted to be accepted and fit in. When we lived in New York City before we got married, I would travel to tournaments with him. And different referee coaches and mentors would all tell him the same thing, that he had real talent, that he could ascend. That maybe he wouldn't get to the highest of the highs, but this could be a really high-level hobby. He could be recognized for greatness. If only he would lose some weight. At that point, I'm sure he was tired of talking about his weight. I was too. There were other issues in our new marriage, but his weight seemed like the easiest one to point to, the easiest one to fix. It was the only one we talked about. It was the only one he didn't shut down. We couldn't deny other problems existed, and the other things would fall into place if he focused on getting his weight under control. It would have to go, especially if he wanted to climb in rugby. Rugby was my ray of hope. Rugby became my solution. I hated rugby, though, and my husband knew this. I hated it because the other referees did not look him in the eye. They didn't include him in conversations. They didn't invite him to drinks. He was there, but he didn't belong. But he wanted to. He pretended not to see it. And I went along with it because I loved him and I really didn't want to hurt him. In 2012, my husband got into distance running to lose weight. And he climbed. The first time he was allowed to referee a game others deemed important, a college game. He was so proud. I hadn't seen him that proud ever. I started cooking. I was home all day with a newborn and I wanted to be supportive, and he was so happy and he wanted to lose weight and he wanted healthy meal options. By this point, we lived in Houston and there just weren't any near the client site. My life became his weight loss. My life became rugby. We ran and we entered races. I would run in the morning and he would run at night. And he lost weight and he got better games. We drove 7 fucking hours in Texas summer sun to El Paso and stayed overnight on a beach with sand fleas and a baby and fucking MTV during spring break week in South Padre Island. He ran 1 marathon, then registered for 2 more, so the weight wouldn't come back on. And he would spend his frequent flyer miles in my good graces on weekend trips by running races to qualify for Marine Corps. It was a lot of effort on both our parts. And all of that effort seemed to be worth it. By the time we moved to Denver 8 months later, though, I really wanted to run again. Rugby wasn't fun anymore. We had 2 babies now. Colorado Rugby was way more competitive. USA Rugby, the governing body of the sport, you could compare it, USA Rugby, to USA Gymnastics. You know, the guys who interface with the Olympic Committee, the mid-level paper pushers who handle complaints about things like employees who are accused of molesting the athletes in their care. Those guys are in Boulder. So Colorado, specifically the Denver-Boulder area, is the rugby mecca for the US of A. And my husband wasn't rising anymore. He wasn't special anymore. And those other problems that he tucked in to lose the weight, they came back. And I came apart. For the second time in our short marriage, I consulted divorce lawyers, weighed my options. I loved him. He had the bluest eyes I'd ever seen and the best smile, and God, he loved the hell out of me. But he didn't love himself at all. His body was the enemy, and the battle was consuming both of us. We now had 2 very young children, and I wasn't running, and I had no patience for meal planning or cooking or meal prep or throwing all of our resources into a black hole of nothingness. I was tired of giving things, all of me, and getting nothing in return and being told I wasn't allowed to ask for it. That anything I took for myself was me being less than supportive. When I came back from a girls' weekend at Big Sur, when I decided to burn every copy of that book I have, The Giving Tree, by the way, fuck that book, I stopped trying to accommodate. I hit a wall. I said a whole lot of things that were terrible and I can't take back, but boy, I meant them in that moment. I started reclaiming my space. I started making very firm demands. My husband started spending his weekends at home, interacting with the children. First for 30 minutes, then for an hour. Soon I could be gone for an entire long run. He planned family things for us and date nights. He offered to give up something big he'd wanted and had been saving for in order to pay for my RRCA certification. It was an olive branch. It's one of the reasons why I stayed. That was the moment I knew that somewhere on some level he was still in, and I wanted to be too. I was actually happy later that summer when I realized I was pregnant with number 3. And even happier when I realized that my hobby could turn into something bigger. We were happy. 4 years in and we found balance. He was all in and so was I. But he missed rugby. And on some level, he blamed his weight. In 2016, we would pay off our student loans. The first thing he did was buy me an engagement ring. The second would be a drug his doctor had suggested for weight loss. But it was pricey, and it was dangerous, and it was known to cause strokes. I said nothing because I wanted to be supportive and because his doctor recommended it, so it can't be a bad thing, right? Medical supervision. Doctor wouldn't recommend anything dangerous. My husband, it's better to be alive, right? He wouldn't do anything. A doctor wouldn't prioritize thinness over being alive, right? Plus, this means he's taking responsibility for his life and his body, and maybe this is his improvement journey. I just couldn't shake the idea that something was very, very wrong. I couldn't articulate it then, but nothing about this felt right. He was scared to fall asleep, thinking he would never wake up. I would wake up multiple times in the middle of the night just to check if he was still breathing. This became our unspoken routine. Even though our babies were all sleeping through the night, we weren't. All this to fit in, to rise once more, to make his hobby feel good again, to make him feel good again. They didn't see the bluest eyes I'd ever seen, or the cutest smile, or the best daddy, much less that no one wanted to be out there on that pitch. That's what they call a rugby field, more than Alex did. He would get there an hour early just to get to know the pitch. A rugby pitch, by the way, is a field. It is usually an abandoned field. He would get there and walk around and walk over every inch of the pitch where the game would be played. He would know where the holes were, what to watch out for. He cared. No one else did that. No one. I've still not met anyone that put as much into it as my husband did. Still does. All they saw, they didn't see the work. They didn't give a shit. They saw fat, sloth, irresponsibility, lack of control, visual proof of his inability to follow rules. 1 year later, he was still taking the dangerous drug, but I was openly begging him to quit taking it and to quit signing up for rugby matches. I went to one, and I was so mad I swore I wouldn't go back. Colorado rugby, by the way, is nothing like Texas rugby. Texas is a hobby. It's a family affair. It's fun. These fields, you want to be in them. It's the one thing Texas gets right and Colorado gets completely wrong. People like my husband, who are killing themselves to be seen and taken seriously. The superfans of the sport, the people most excited to be there, they deserve to be seen. They are the future of this dying sport. And from what I've seen, the rugby superfans are the women who want to play, the women who want to referee, and fat men. The World Cup is going on right now. And if you Google it, all the coverage is about USA Rugby having a really big referee problem. That's what the first week of this 3-week event was defined by, referee problems. That got more coverage than the games themselves. The other big issue is women. Rugby has a diversity problem. They know it, and they have no idea how to fix it. Pro tip, y'all. It won't start by telling the men to lose weight. I shudder to think what helpful cues you're going to give the women. So, the mantra. This is a wake-up call for anyone who is too good for their superfans, anyone who takes that love for granted, anyone who thinks devotion and excitement is annoying. Front and center. Those people you don't look at, they need to be front and center. To the superfans, if you are being overlooked, say it with me. Front and center. If you've been shut out of a race you participated in, denied a medal or a short or both, email info@fitnessprotection.com. We want to put you front and center and start making change in this sport. This weekend, my husband and I are going to do a live stream telling you about 2 of his race experiences. And then you'll understand why I care so much about this. Rugby needs to do better, and distance running does too. Neither sport has a future if we treat our superfans like shit. You are coached, you are loved, and you are winning at life. And you are definitely winning at life if you subscribe to my Nuzzlenut newsletter, follow me on Facebook, or follow me on Instagram. Feel free to do all 3.